welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Deveci, your host, and welcoming you episode 124. We are in season 5 in the American Business Podcast. The American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. Today's number $2.9 trillion. That's the US manufacturing industry contributing around $2.9 trillion to US GDP. And code of the day, as you know, we have a great partnership with missionstatements.com. And today's code is you become unstoppable when you work on things people cannot take away from you. Things like your mindset, your character, and personality. Well, as you know, last week we started our new service, Business Podcast as a Service, PaaS. Well, so far we got really great response from the market. We truly appreciate your help and support. If you're interested in starting your own business podcast within the American Business Network, please send us an email, paas@americanpodcast.tv. Our goal is to share our expertise with you, with your organization to start your business podcast. And with your business podcast within the American Business Podcast Network, you'll have immediate, instant visibility in the American Business Podcast Network in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast viewers and listeners. If you're interested, please send us an email, PAAS, as in podcast as a service, at americanpodcast.tv. Great. Let's invite our guests to our virtual stage and let's get the conversation started. Hello, Martin. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me and welcome everyone here.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for joining us. Where are you connecting from?
I am connecting out of Austria, so across the pond. From a very cold country, we currently have deep winter here, and looking forward to our conversation today.
Yes, same here. Thank you very much for being with us. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm really excited to have this conversation. I hope you had a nice holiday season and you had a great week so far.
Yes, so in Austria, we tend to have Christmas holiday until the 6th of January. So and it's really the time of the year where also all business partners and everybody is taking some time off. So it's the best time to have a full rest and reset. And this year, I think I really had nobody in the family had some illness or whatever. So it was really good time to recharge all the batteries, and they are fully recharged now.
That's great. Yeah, knock on the wood. Yeah, it's going to be a great year. So we all keep the hopes high. And when you look at 2025, what would you say? What is your reflection on 2025 and looking into 2026?
I think for business owners, 2025 was really a hard year. I think complexity in general just became more. If you look at the whole macroeconomics that have changed, and especially for us coming from a hardware business that is at least has parts of its supply chain out of Asia, primarily distributing or manufacturing in Europe, and then distributing in Europe and now also in the US. So we are fully exposed to those risks and complexities. And of course, as an entrepreneur, your job is to navigate the landscape as good as possible. You cannot really influence it. So I think it became more challenging. But yeah, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
That's right. That's right. Yes, hopefully it's going to be a great year for all of us, professionals and businesses in 2026. Well, let's dive into it and let's get the conversation started in more detail. As a start, would you please introduce yourself and your organization to our listeners and to our viewers?
Sure. So I'm Martin Panzi, Austrian and founder and CEO of Nuki. Nuki is a retrofit smart door lock. We are European market leader when it comes to retrofit access. So We are replacing your physical key, and with an app on your smartphone, you can install the device within 3 to 5 minutes. You don't need any additional tooling, no professional assistance, and so on. You can really do it on your own at home, and you're immediately good to go with your new digital key, and thereby, of course, making lives easier for millions of people, because we are in this phase in a transition of the next 10, 20 years where people will get rid of physical keys and more people will upgrade to digital keys. And that's also our mission, to make digital keys an everyday and common thing.
Yeah, this is very exciting. Sounds like a revolutionary product. And well, let's learn a little bit more about you in terms of your professional background, if that's okay. And then we can
Sure.
dive deeper into Nuki and your vision about the company. Would you please tell us about your career journey? How did you get started? How your career journey has unfolded over the years?
Yes, I think. Well, I started out in at university, and I have an economics background, so business degrees, and I really never had the strong idea of doing my own business. So I really stumbled into it. Also, back at that time, all my friends at university were going into consulting, investment banking, or some other corporate job, and that's also how I started out. But I think after an initial year where I was working for another Austrian company and was more or less traveling the world for this company, my brother actually approached me. My brother was he was the founder of Austria's most successful internet business at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, and he asked me to join the company, which was, although he was my brother, it was never really my plan while I was at university. But then I started there, and yeah, somehow got infected by the virus of working for a small company where you really can see 360 degrees of the business. I think I really learned a lot in those first 2, 3 years because I could see the full size of a business. Was working very close also with my brother, who, as a CEO, of course, also had the full view on it. And I think those early experiences were really very helpful for me. And yeah, I said, since then, I was caught on by the virus. And a few years later, we then decided to start our own business. And we sold the business that we were initially running. And with the funds that we got, we invested into creating new ideas. And what we always wanted to do is launch something out of Austria, which can be successful on a global stage. And this almost necessarily means that you have to focus on a niche business. But digitalization, of course, helps you to sell more or less worldwide. And I think Nuki's exactly fits that pattern because it's something that we are developing here in Austria with really skilled people, and then we are distributing almost globally. And Nuki is what I've been doing for the last 10 years now. Yeah, that's more or less my history. So we did 2 or 3 businesses together, which were in the digital and software space. And then we had the crazy idea to reinvent keys, which also required hardware, making the business
Yes.
way more complex. And that's what I've been doing the last 10 years. So focused on making Nuki one of the leading access companies worldwide.
When you look at your day-to-day work, what are the exciting and challenging parts of your work on daily basis?
Well, I really love my work, and I'm 350 days a year motivated to get to work. So I would almost say I like all of my work. Yeah. I think for me is, of course, what I really like is there are certain periods during the year where where you ask yourself more the directional questions. So where are we headed? Where should we go? And so on.
Mhm.
And those are the things that I like the most. So where we're really setting the direction for the coming months. Um, now is also a time where we are right into that, because always by the end of the year or when the new year starts, you are in this budgeting cycles and forecasting, and that's always where plans for the next year get finalized. And I really like that part where we are defining the road ahead. Yeah, and that's something that I think also takes a large part of my overall time that I devote to the job.
What is your vision for the company's future?
Well, the vision is, so when you look at smart access or digital keys in Europe today, it's roughly 4% of households that are using digital keys. In the US, it's already 10%. The US is always like 3 years ahead of Europe when it comes to the adoption of digital keys. And then there are projections how this will evolve over the future. And those projections are saying that I think in 10, 20 years from now, of course, this percentage will be at 40, 50%. And so the world is slowly transitioning into digital keys. And I always keep saying internally in meetings, we are now, for example, in Europe, European market leader. And it's nice if you're a market leader when the adoption is 4%, but it's way more important to be market leader when it's 20 or 30%, because the position is then much more valuable. And this is also my vision for Nuki. I want us to be the leading player for residential access in 10 or 20 years from now. And if we do that well, then I think we help actually people a lot, because we are making their lives easier. They don't need to worry about keys anymore. And doing that is really fun, because you immediately get the feedback from our customers that you're doing them something good, which is a really cool feeling.
Sounds like it's a growing market, so it has a lot of feature. That's what I'm hearing from you. How about challenges? What is the biggest challenge that you see in your industry facing your
I
organization?
think when we really take it from the digital lock perspective, then there is a product already out there, ours or competition, but smart locks as of today, they really have lots of values. There is no more rational reason why you go with a physical key. And people who vote for a smart lock, they're also happy with it. Yeah. So if you look into reviews and measure customer satisfaction, people are happy. So the question is actually, okay, if now only 4 out of 100 have chosen one, a smart lock, how can I tell the story? How can I spread the product to the other 96? This is the biggest challenge, and this is also what will make the adoption grow faster or not so fast. And I think that's the most defining question that our industry is facing over the next 10 to 20 years.
Let's talk about the industry. So before we got started, these episodes of you and I, we were chatting and we talk about the industry a little bit. And actually, it's a lucky industry. And you just mentioned it's actually a pretty old industry fundamentally, right? So you are modernizing it. Can you tell us about the industry overall? What is the state of luck and security industry? How do you see the industry overall? And what are the opportunities that you are seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry, as you said, it's a very old industry. Locks are around since hundreds of years.
Wow, that's
And
true.
it's an industry that is more or less that made its fortune from bending iron. And now, when we entered into this industry 10 years ago, we knew nothing about hardware. So
Okay.
it's completely new. We are coming from the software world and we are going into this very hardware intense industry. And I have to say, in hindsight now, 10 years ago, we had some business meetings where we were talking about things, and the other side, which were leading industry players, they just completely didn't understand us, because we were talking on different levels. And I think that is just very interesting. Therefore, the industry and its heritage is, of course, always the lock is here to make your home more safe. It's a lot about security. It's a lot about keeping the wrong people out. And when we go into that, we have a different approach. For us, it's about letting the right people in. as easy as possible and make it as comfortable for them as possible. And that is a totally different way to look at this business. It's not
Mhm.
about making it more secure, making it more expensive, because somewhere here is a security feature that you most likely will never need. Yeah? But we're coming and we want to increase the comfort, your peace of mind, things that you can benefit from every day. And that is a totally
Mhm.
different approach. And of course, that's has impact on the product, but it also has an impact on how the product gets distributed, how the customer relationship is during and also after the purchase. So, for example, traditional lock industry, most of the players don't even know their customers because it's not required. On Nuki, every Nuki customer is using the Nuki app, so we have a digital channel to our
Mm.
customers. We can have a dialogue and so on, and it's a completely different way of doing the business.
Yes, I mean, the more I listen to you, the more I understand. That's actually amazing. Because to your point, when I buy a regular lock, it's very transaction. I just buy and go, and there is no other communication going on with the vendor and customer between. And but from your point of view, as a digital product, so there is a software part, there is a subscription part, there is a relationship management part. Maybe you also do some upsell, cross sell. It's gonna go to some other um, the dimensions highly likely. So that's amazing. You are really revolutionizing that traditional industry. That's now I
Yes,
understand better. Yes,
it's a niche, but we are revolutionizing that niche. Yeah, definitely.
absolutely. I like it. It's very exciting. Well, speaking of technology, let's talk about AI a little bit. How do you see the impact of AI on business nowadays?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, I think the impact of AI, it's going to be massive, and I think we all have to transform. Um, I think one shouldn't be afraid of AI and its potential implications, because if you adapt yourself, you will only become more valuable. And I really like the saying that you will not get replaced by AI, but you might get replaced by somebody who adopts AI better than you do. And this is more or less, I think, also how people should approach it. See it really as an opportunity to get more done, and just become better yourself or as a company. And that's in general, because I think AI will touch. If I look at our company, it goes across all the teams and all the functions, of course. Because if I'm in customer support or in marketing or in product development, everybody can use AI. Then on the other side is, how will AI impact our product? And there, I think it's still a long way until AI cannot replace our smart lock. So from that point of view, I think we are in a quite good position, because AI is not eating our business,
Mhm.
because the need for the lock is still there. But we, with AI, we get a technology that helps us in making our job better, which will just make it easier and also hopefully more efficient. So, for example, we are since several months looking into a project, making all the customer support AI assisted, automating stuff there, and so on, and
Mhm.
replacing human um, labor with AI. That's a big opportunity on that end.
Mhm.
And that's where we are looking into. So I think in the end, for Nuki in general, it's a net positive, because it gives us more opportunity in our value generation, but doesn't devalue the product that we are selling.
Yes, absolutely. My background is also business software. So naturally, AI, especially just to support your point, AI agents coming in, and they are affordable, practical, and any size of business can actually utilize it nowadays. And what I'm hearing from you is an actually a use case of it that you are actually implementing it for customer service,
Yes,
which is great.
that is the largest use case we have internally. But as I said, we are also using it on, I mean, in marketing or so on. You use it on an everyday basis, because it's a very, very good sparring partner for your ideas. And
That's true.
sometimes it's amazing with the kind of quality of the ideas that come from AI. And the little context it actually needs, because it already gets so much context from what has already been fed into the AI in the background. So I think if you just look at it as a sparring partner, it's a really good opportunity to learn. I just recently was actually in New York, and on my flight back, I bought a Wi-Fi on the plane, and I used 1 hour just to play around with Gemini in the end, and just throwing into ideas and getting feedback. It works really well on a plane because it doesn't require lots of data,
Mm.
because it's all text, and
Mhm.
you can learn a lot in 1 hour if you
Wow.
use it the right way.
How to survive crisis and uncertainty in business based on your experience?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have quite a lot of experience with crisis, because when working on Nuki, we in the past 5 years we really went through several crises as a hardware business. Of course, all the COVID stuff, then the subsequent chip crisis and the issues around availability of chips. Um, then there were similar things on supply chain side also in 2025, where things were quite tense. Then also, as I said initially, the whole macroeconomic scenery getting harder. And those are all things that you cannot influence. So you have to accept it and build your business around it. At least for me, in coping with uncertainty, what I think is the most relevant part is that you are prepared, and being prepared for crisis means that you have scenarios in your head. So you plan and work with scenarios, because that also allows you that if there is a crisis, whatever crisis may come up, you know exactly, okay, those are the kind of things that I need to change in order to adapt as good as possible. And that's also what history has told us, and why, for example, in Nuki, we are working quite a lot with scenarios and so on, so that we are prepared in case things don't turn out as we expect.
Based on your experience, what are the best marketing practices that bring the highest ROI nowadays?
Well, looking at all my companies that I've been working on, the marketing practice with the best ROI is always word of mouth. Uh, because in the end, if done really well, it costs you close to zero, but it can bring you the upside opportunities almost endless. Um, what we, I think, do by what I think by word of mouth is, for us, it's in the SaaS world, it's called product led growth, more or less, which in consumer hardware is more or less you build a great product that really delights customers. And then you just have to make sure that the distribution is there and that the delighted customers spread the word, and then it will work like a snowball and keep growing. That's also how we, for example, when we started out with Nuki, we actually started out on Kickstarter. So very early on, um, we had a small fellowship, and then we said, okay, this is our vision. That's what we want to do. If you think it's cool, then please share with others. If you want to get rid of keys, please also tell your best friends. If they also want to get rid of keys, then we are the solution. And this more or less created a snowball. And then we shipped a good product, and then the first customers were delighted, they passed it on, and so on. And we know from data that roughly one Nuki customer brings 2.5 more Nuki customers, and this is exactly this kind of snowball effect. And then there are marketing tactics, of course, how you can support it. Social media is a great helper on that end. Also, all the kind of review platforms that you have. If you do well on reviews, then you don't give people a reason, if you get something like this recommended, to say no. You need to make the purchase as easy as possible. And that's for me definitely word of mouth, viral growth, and this done really well, it's unbeatable in terms of ROI.
How would you define leadership from your point of view? And what are the great leadership qualities a good leader must have?
Yeah, I think leadership is inspiring people to follow you or join a group or tribe. And I think to get there, so that people follow you, you need to have clear values. Also stand for those values, speak them out. Also have a vision. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to take the team or the company? And if you make sure where you're headed and how you would like to get there, then I think it's also way easier for people to relate to your vision. And I think also once you have that, this is kind of the basic framework. And if you have that set up well, then you will get followership. And then your job is primarily to really fight for the vision and defend it as long as possible to get to this vision, defend it and make sure that the whole team is goes towards that vision. And I think if you translate that into leadership capabilities, I think is definitely having a vision and being able to come up with a vision, articulate a vision. Then it's always a marathon, so you need to have determination, perseverance. I think trust and honesty in today's world must be a given. It's very hard to be successful in a marathon without trust and honesty because it's not sustainable without. So you need to be high on integrity. And I also think you need to strive for excellence because I always say we now have, I don't know, 6 billion, 7 billion people on the world. So if I have an idea, a good idea, then most likely there are several other people on the world who have exactly the same idea. So I also need to execute better than the others in order to really win on the market. And this is also a kind of quality that you need to have because if you work with shitty quality, you will not be the one who is winning.
Have you had any role models, any mentors who help you shape your career journey over the years?
Of course, and I think I learned a lot from mentors. Mentors are, I think, a good, are a really, really good opportunity to speed up your own personal development. In my case, I already said when I joined the company that my brother initially founded and working with him for the first 2, 3 years while I was still very young, that helped me a lot, gain a lot of experience, but also get a lot of insight. And later on, also today, for example, in the Nuki board, so the shareholders who are invested in Nuki, there are a lot of personalities that I really value a lot. Very seasoned personalities with lots of experience. They've been very successful in business, and I think I can have a good dialogue and exchange and understand also. And I'm very open for the kind of feedback that I get from them because in the end, it's kind of they are sparring partners for me, and having those sparring partners is definitely very relevant because without that I think it's kind of risky that you don't stay grounded. And I think staying grounded is also what all my mentors have taught me along the way. So all my mentors were always people who I think are very grounded, and they also showed me that that's something that is actually really relevant if you want to be successful over a longer period of time.
Key career lessons. If there is one key career lesson that you learned the hard way, what would it be that you can share with us?
I think if you would have asked me about what are my superpowers 10 or 20 years ago, I was really very much convinced about speed. I thought speed is something where I'm really strong at. and is also a superpower, because if I'm just really fast, then I can also afford to make mistakes, because if I'm fast and I have corrected my mistake before the competitor even made one step. Uh, that was kind of my understanding. So I always strived for speed, speed, speed. And I think what I learned over the years is, if you're too much into that, you run into the risk of burning out, because you just want to go faster and faster and faster. And if you want to be successful over a longer period of time, then you need to learn to go with the flow, and there is a certain rhythm for everything, and timing. And I think the value of time in general is something that I saw totally different 10, 20 years ago than I see it today. So I still think speed is key, but you need to know when it's good to go with speed, and when is also a time where you need to rest and go down. And having the right balance between those two, that's really key. And I learned it the hard way, because I tried to go with speed, speed, speed until I couldn't give any more to it.
Mhm.
Personally, my batteries were out, so now it's different.
Is there a book, a movie, a show that helped you shape your career perspective over the years?
First of all, I do read lots of books. I wouldn't say that there is a book that really changed my career perspective, but what I found really interesting, I really like all the books from Malcolm Gladwell. And there is one of the books, I don't unfortunately don't know the name of the book, where it's about this 10,000 hours rule. So you need to practice something for 10,000 hours, and only then you are really good at that skill, and so on. And I have a background in sports, so in tennis, and then it's a lot, when I read those books, I can relate to, okay, this is how it plays out in business, but then I also think how it was in back when I played almost professional tennis. And that's always very interesting, because there are some commonalities between business and tennis. And because you said also which show, what I can recommend is definitely, there is a commencement speech from Roger Federer that he did at the graduation at the US university. And in that, he's telling how important it is to not be afraid of making mistakes and learning out of failure. Because even he himself, although he was one of the best tennis players in the world ever, I think he only won 55% of the points he played. So he lost 45% of the points he played, but he kept going. And I think this is a very important learning. And listening to this speech, I can recommend to everyone. It's short, but it's really worth the time, and also fun to listen.
Well, do you have any career advice for the next generation business professionals?
Um, well, coming out of Austria, which is just a very small country in the middle of Europe, I always give the advice to think big. Think big, I mean, in terms of distribution. So,
Mhm.
with today's landscape of app stores, and also Amazon is just a huge distribution opportunity if you do something around hardware. On software, we have app stores, we have the web, and so on. So, there are all the platforms, and really think global from start, because it's a huge opportunity to be able to sell to 6 billion people. Whereas on the other side, if you're just restricting yourself to a certain country or territory, it's just way harder, because things are smaller. So think big, be brave, and go for it. And if you have a good product and idea, just run with it. Throw it out to customers, listen closely to your customers, and learn at the beginning as fast as possible, and then learn to balance a little bit speed with your own energy.
Well, in the American Business Podcast, do you have any question that you would like to ask me?
Question that I would like to ask you. Well, what I would think really cool is, will you buy a smart lock now?
I'll definitely look into it. Where can I find it? Amazon
You can order it
in US?
on Amazon or our own website right away. You can install it on your own. It gets delivered to your door, and a few minutes later, you have a digital key. No more physical keys.
Sold. Okay, okay. I mean, I like it. Yeah, thank you very much. Absolutely, this it's been a great conversation. For those who like to learn more about Nuki and about your company, what is the best way that they can get in touch with your organization?
Yes, so just go to www.nuki.io, and you can learn everything about Nuki there. If you want to get in touch with me personally, then I think LinkedIn is the easiest way to go. Just search up my name and you will find me, and then just reach out.
Martin, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. It's been a great conversation, and thank you for sharing your professional insights and wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me and the American Business Podcast. Great to be here.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I wish you a happy new year and great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Thank you very much. Well, to our audience and to our listeners, we'll be right back after a short break. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Reddit. Do you know the biggest challenge nowadays for American small businesses? That is visibility. That's why we partner with Reddit, Reddit for Business. Reddit has more than 400 million weekly visitors. Furthermore, Reddit is reliable. Reddit is the number one source for real reviews on products, services, and brands. There is a promotion going on. When you spend $500, you'll get $500 in ad credit from Reddit. True story. I am a Reddit user. Anytime I need feedback or review for a product or service, I go to Reddit. I get the real answers, real feedback from real people, from Reddit communities. Scan this QR code and sign up for Reddit advertising for your business. Get the visibility for your company, your products and services. Scan the QR code and sign up today. Thank you for your support. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Brother. From large companies to small offices, Brother has powerful printers and all-in-ones for your growing business. Scan the QR code and find the best printers for your needs. When you scan the QR code, you can see the entire collection, business office equipment collection of Brother USA, and pick the one that you like. You'll find printers, labels, toners, all-in-ones, and other office equipment available on Brother website when you scan the QR code. Scan the QR code and start shopping for Brother office equipment today. Thank you for your support. Support for the show comes from Yelp. You know, I've been talking to more than 100 business owners in the American Business Podcast. Do you know the biggest problem for small businesses nowadays? It is visibility. That is why you should sign up and list your business on Yelp for Business. I have the QR code on the screen, and when you scan the QR code, the form will show up on your screen and you can sign up on the registration form. It comes with free trial with no obligation. Make it easy for your customers to find you. Do you know there are more than 70 million customers visiting Yelp website looking for services from businesses just like yours? Restaurants, home services, professional services, and many other businesses are being searched on Yelp on daily basis. That's a great opportunity. If you list your business on Yelp, you'll be findable, searchable, and you'll be visible. When you are visible, when your customers are able to find you, you're in business. You can get opportunities, you can get leads, you can build a healthy and profitable pipeline. Consider Yelp for Business. Scan the QR code, sign up, and start your free trial. It comes with free trial. Very comfortable, no obligation. List your business and start getting the results and enjoy the benefits of Yelp Business. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much for being with me in the American Business Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was very informative. And we talk about an interesting industry, luck and security. And we learn about how a traditional industry can be revolutionized with the help of software, technology, and AI. So in that sense, it was very educational, informative, and I hope you like it. If you like to be a guest in the American Business Podcast, please send us an email, guestbooking@americanpodcast.tv. If you like to advertise, sponsor the American Business Podcast, please send us an email, growyourbusiness@americanpodcast.tv. I also like to invite you to our website, americanpodcast.tv, to see our coming schedule as well as updates. Thank you so much for being with me in the American Business Podcast. I'm looking forward to having you in the coming the American Business Podcast episodes. Thank you very much and have a great day.